Hi guys, welcome to another Vancouver themed video. In this video, we'll be chatting about what the different neighborhoods within Vancouver are really like. I've picked a bunch of neighborhoods that I'm going to talk about today. Obviously, we're not going to be talking about every single neighborhood because then this video would be 10 hours long, but I picked a few. So we're going to be talking about downtown Vancouver, West Vancouver, otherwise known as the west side of the city of Vancouver, not to be confused with the city of West Vancouver, South Vancouver, and East Vancouver. Wow, I just said the word Vancouver like a million times. Okay, anyways. Also, just a disclaimer, I will be using a lot of generalizations to describe all of these neighborhoods. In reality, pretty much no matter where you live in the city of Vancouver, all of the neighborhoods are fairly similar. There isn't like huge distinctions between them, but I'm just going to use like generalizations to give you a better sense of what it's like to live there. But one thing that pretty much all of these neighborhoods have in common is that rent is expensive. So I'm going to talk about downtown Vancouver as a whole. I'm going to make a whole separate video about downtown because I feel like it itself has so many little neighborhoods within it that I think it just deserves its own video. Overall, you'll find a lot of working professionals living downtown, and that is because there's a lot of businesses here, a lot of commercial skyrises. Pretty much all of the like major companies have their hubs downtown. So yeah, there's a whole financial district downtown. There's also just a lot of restaurants, a lot of pretty much things to do. Like if you are someone who enjoys having a vibrant nightlife, not really saying that Vancouver has the best nightlife, but if you're into like going to bars and nightclubs, this is pretty much the place to do that. It's also central to pretty much all of the SkyTrain and C buses. It's very convenient to get downtown from most places. But yeah, there's a lot to do here. So if you're someone who's into the hustle and bustle of a city, then this is definitely the place for you. If you don't mind a lot of noise and stuff like that, if you're looking for something quieter and more family oriented, this might not be the place for you. Downtown also has plenty of beaches and Stanley Park. So not only is it good from like a city standpoint, it's also fun if you like going to the beach. So long story short, if you like the big city atmosphere, downtown is probably going to be the closest thing you can get to that, and be prepared to pay pretty expensive rent if you decide to live here. So the next neighborhood or neighborhoods on this list is West Point Grey and Kitsilano. I kind of clumped them together because they're fairly similar. Although I would say that West Point Grey, which is further west, closer to the University of British Columbia, I think over there it's a little bit quieter. It's way more family oriented, a lot more detached homes, whereas Kitsilano also has a lot of detached homes, but it also has apartments, not skyrises like downtown, they're more low-rise apartments. I would say that West Point Grey is a great place to live if you are family-oriented or if you want to have close access to the University of British Columbia. If you're going to school there, it's very convenient. Kitsilano is definitely home to a lot of millennials, young couples, young singles. You'll find a lot of them there. There's a lot of bars as well, but it's not as hustle and bustle as downtown. It's still busy like on a Friday and Saturday night, but it's not quite as busy as like Granville Street downtown. This is me totally stereotyping right now, but I will say that in Kitsilano, I do find a lot of the stereotypical Vancouverites living there. And when I say that, I mean someone who wears a lot of Lululemon leggings, goes to yoga, loves hiking. Not saying I am not guilty of a few of those things, but that is kind of the vibe that you get in Kitsilano. Also, I'm just gonna say it, it's not the most diverse place compared to some of the other places on this list, so keep that in mind. Next, we're gonna go down to the Fraser River to South Vancouver. Here you'll find places like Marpole, Marine Drive, Langara. There's actually a bunch of more affordable apartments that you can find in Marpole. There's a bunch of like older buildings there. This area definitely has become more exciting over the years. They've added way more restaurants here that are pretty good, and Marine Drive has a relatively new plaza with like a movie theater and I think there's like a Winners, which is always exciting. So yeah, there's some stuff to do. It's definitely not as vibrant as like downtown, but if you're looking for something that is more, you know, family friendly, a lot of residential homes and apartments, then this is definitely the place to be. Next up, we're gonna skip straight on over to East Vancouver. I know that's a large chunk of Vancouver to discuss. There's a lot of different sections within East Vancouver, but I don't know, I'm just gonna keep things very general for this video. But there are a few very prominent streets that I just wanna mention that I personally really like. There's Main Street and Commercial Drive. If you are someone who's into vintage or thrift shops, there's a whole bunch of them along Main Street. I'm just gonna go ahead and say this is me stereotyping again. I find that there are a lot more hipsters that live in these areas. I'm sorry if that is a cringy word to use. All I mean by that is that there tends to be a lot more people that have very unique personal style. They don't dress up in the stereotypical Vancouverite attire, and I really admire that. So yeah, there's just a lot of cool shops along these streets, a lot of thrift and vintage if you're into that. Once again, East Van is filled with a bunch of residential buildings. There are some apartments, but yeah, once again, a lot of houses. There's a lot of like basements you can find there to rent. And in general, I think you can find some relatively cheaper rent in East Van, depending on, you know, obviously East Van, very large, but certain parts of it you can definitely find cheaper rent than you would in places like Kitsilano or downtown. Unlike Kitsilano, I would say that East Van definitely has way more diversity. There's a lot more like ethnic restaurants and stuff. I will also mention that certain parts of East Van, like, you know, Commercial Drive or whatever, they're a little bit more rough around the edges. Not to say that East Van is not a livable place. I have many friends that live in East Van and it's totally fine, but you do have to kind of be more cautious depending on where in East Van you live. East Hastings Street and like in particular the downtown east side section of it is very well known for having a pretty large homeless population. With that said, there's a whole lot of gentrification going on in that part of East Van. Look up gentrification if you're curious about that word. But yeah, there's also a lot of like hip bars that have been opening up in that area, a lot of like new apartment buildings, which have unfortunately been pushing all these vulnerable populations further and further away. Okay, I feel like I did a whole lot of talking. Hopefully some of that was useful to you. If it was, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe and turn on your bell notifications because I am planning to post a video dedicated to downtown Vancouver and all the various neighborhoods in there. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to subscribe. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.